Tomorrow, Governor Glenn Youngkin has ordered flags in Virginia to fly at half-staff in honor of Hersh Goldberg-Polin. The 23-year-old Richmond man was one of 6 Hamas hostages that were found brutally murdered over the weekend. His family confirmed his death yesterday. Less than 2 weeks after they stood on stage, by the way, at the Democratic National Convention and called for a ceasefire deal.
We live on another planet. Anyone who is a parent or has had a parent can try to imagine the anguish and misery that John and I and all the hostage families are enduring.
Tonight, 7 News is on your side with team coverage on the latest involving the war in Gaza, including what President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are saying about a ceasefire deal. We're going to hear from them in just moments. But first, Rebecca Turco is learning about how the Jewish community in our region is planning to honor Hamas victims.
Hersh Goldberg-Polin was laid to rest in Jerusalem today. The 23-year-old who grew up in Virginia was one of 6 hostages killed in the ongoing war in Gaza.
I've met with many of the hostage families, and every day is a hell.
Ron Halber is the executive director of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington, a nonprofit advocating for some 300,000 people in the local Jewish community. Ron calls the hostage killings their worst nightmare.
In the Jewish faith, there's a saying, that unto every life is a world, to summarize. 6 worlds were destroyed because every one of those individuals could have had children, families, a whole life ahead of them, but it was cut short by savagery.
Now mass protests are erupting in Israel, calling for the Israeli government to strike a ceasefire with Hamas to bring the remaining captives home. According to the Associated Press, many of these protesters are arguing such a deal would have saved the other hostages. The AP reports Israeli forensics experts say those hostages were killed Thursday or Friday by close-range gunfire, shortly before Israeli troops reached the tunnel where they were being held. President Biden put out a statement over the weekend saying in part, quote, "Make no mistake, Hamas leaders will pay for these crimes," adding they'll keep working for a deal to release the remaining hostages. Now Ron and other local Jewish leaders are planning a vigil to help bring the Jewish community together and to pray for the safe return of those remaining Israeli hostages.
Nobody should underestimate the amount of pain, the amount of sorrow, and the amount of agony that the Jewish community feels this moment after the brutal slaying of these 6 innocent young people.
The vigil begins at 8 tomorrow night at Addis Israel Congregation. Ron is expecting a few thousand people to come. Reporting in Northwest D.C., Rebecca Turco, 7 News.